I've transmigrated into a historical romance novel as the villainous female supporting character. The good news: I'm rich, beautiful, and powerful. Everyone dotes on me and spoils me. The bad news: I'm a love brain, obsessed with romance. And in the end, the male lead wipes out my entire family. Fine. So that's how we're playing this, huh? I've become the only daughter of the Duke of Shun's manor. The legitimate daughter, no less, stunningly beautiful, of noble status. Adored by Lord and Lady Shun, spoiled by my eldest brother. The only downside is being a bit of a love brain. And a malicious one at that. Doing all sorts of evil things for the male lead, ending up with a gruesome, undignified death. Of course, the love brain isn't me. It was the original owner of this body. After transmigrating, I look at my life of luxury and fine clothes. Hey, why bother with men when you're this rich? Without a moment's hesitation, I decided right then to change my fate. I'm going to enjoy this prosperity forever. Luckily, I arrived early enough. The story has only just begun. The male and female leads haven't even appeared yet. There's still time for everything. In the tea house, my personal maid, Tingzhu, looks at me with a face full of joy. Miss Shen, I heard from Lord Shun that General Xia will be returning in triumph in 3 days. Doesn't that mean a celebration is coming for our Duke's manor? She looks as if I'm about to become the happiest person in the world. Xia Huai is the eldest son of the General's manor. He and I were childhood sweethearts, betrothed since we were young. We're the couple everyone in the capital envies. Everyone assumes that the day he returns in victory will be the day I marry him in my red bridal gown, as if marrying him would be the greatest blessing of my life. It's not just Tingzhu who thinks so, but the original owner of this body too. But the current me just wants to say one thing: if you want this blessing, you can have it. According to the original plot, I should be looking forward to Xia Huai's return with a heart full of joy. But I won't just be waiting for Xia Huai. There's also the White Lotus female lead who's been through so much. The White Lotus and Xia Huai are hopelessly entangled. And I, consumed by jealousy, would constantly insult and frame her. She feels wronged and sad, but she never speaks up. Xia Huai has a love-hate relationship with her. Yet because of me, he loves her, while simultaneously torturing her. It's not until the White Lotus is nearly tortured to death by us that Xia Huai suddenly sees his own heart. Then he turns around and takes a frantic revenge on me. In this relationship, my main role is to turn evil for the sake of love. I have a brain, but it loses all IQ for the plot, ending in a miserable death. The female lead's role is to endure for the sake of love. She has a mouth, but she never speaks her mind. In the end, her bitterness turns to sweetness. And the male lead, the culprit of this melodramatic romance, after torturing the female lead 800 times over, not only gets her forgiveness easily, but ends up in a high position of power, holding his beauty in his arms. And the only price he has to pay is my life and the lives of everyone in the Duke's manor, all 300 of them. Can only say, sometimes transmigrating alone really makes you feel helpless. When the author wrote this brain-dead novel, they didn't care about my life at all. But I care. From the very first day I arrived, I've been calculating how to escape this trashy ending, but I don't plan on following the traditional transmigration route of trying to win over the male lead. After all, I know very well that entrusting your entire life to a man is a dead-end road. I could clearly enjoy a lifetime of wealth on my own. So I must win this uphill battle. 3 days later, Xia Huai returned to the capital. He brought the White Lotus lead Lin Wanyue with him. Everyone in the capital knows General Xia keeps his distance from women. Except for me, his fiancée. No woman is allowed near him. Under everyone's watchful eyes, from Xia Huai's private carriage, a woman dressed in white stepped down. She was even wearing the cloak the original owner, had hand-sewn for him. One was tall and handsome, the other delicate and beautiful. Standing together, they looked like a perfect match. In an instant, countless strange looks fell upon me. Some were searching, some curious, but most were mocking. I was no longer Xia Huai's exception. I should have been stunned, jealous, sad, and angry. Then I should have gone up and sharply demanded to know who this woman was. That would have shamed Xia Huai and made Lin Wanyue burst into tears of panic. But all those reactions should be based on me actually having feelings for him. I am not the original owner. I don't love the male lead, so I'm more clear-headed than he is. The reason Xia Huai and I are engaged is mostly because our family backgrounds are equal. It's a perfect match of status. He's the heir of a prominent military family, and I'm a noble lady from a prestigious house. His reputation matters, but mine matters just as much. So, maintaining my most graceful poise, I gave a bright and moving smile amidst those burning gazes. I walked up to Xia Huai. Why, long time no see. Congratulations on your triumphant return. I heard from your father that you won this battle beautifully. At the welcome banquet later, you must tell me all about it. I acted with perfect decorum, without the slightest hint of reproach. I even showed a bit of intimacy. Seeing me like this, Xia Huai looked awkward for a moment. Then he moved away. Lin Wanyue stepped a bit closer to me and put on a gentle masking smile. Jiao Jiao, long time no see. You've certainly changed a bit. Xia Huai and I haven't seen each other for a year. In his memory, I should be spoiled, willful, especially when facing women who try to get close to him. I would even be somewhat unreasonable, but the current me is a version of me he has never seen before. It left him feeling quite surprised. Is that so? I glanced briefly at Lin Wanyue, then looked up to meet his eyes. I gave a playful wink. Why, you've changed a lot too. You've actually learned how to be tender toward the fair sex. Xia Huai froze, glancing at the somewhat flustered Lin Wanyue. He frowned and said, Jiao Jiao, this is Lin Wanyue. When I was injured at the border, her mother saved my life. So that's how it is. I interrupted him, speaking loud enough for everyone present to hear. Since Miss Lin is your benefactor, how could you neglect her like this? As I spoke, I gestured to Tingzhu to come over. It's been a long and tiring journey. Miss Lin must be exhausted. Tingzhu, hurry and take Miss Lin to freshen up. Seeing Tingzhu walking toward her, Lin Wanyue looked panicked, looking at Xia Huai as if for help. Xia Huai looked at her with a furrowed brow, hesitating. Jiao Jiao, actually, I said with a beaming smile. Today's banquet was personally bestowed by His Majesty. Why, it's fine if you want to be casual, but you must let Miss Lin present herself properly. This banquet was highly regarded by the Emperor. Half the court would be there. It wasn't just to welcome Xia Huai back, but to showcase the Xia family's achievements. So even if Xia Huai had doubts, he had to consider the bigger picture. What controls a man besides weak tears is his hollow sense of pride. Seeing that Xia Huai said no more, Lin Wanyue's pretty face turned a shade paler. She could only lower her eyes and let Tingzhu lead her away. In the original story, my aggressive questioning made Xia Huai unhappy. So, in a moment of carelessness, he announced to everyone that he had promised Lin's mother that he would take Lin Wanyue into his household. In my rage, I slapped Lin Wanyue. In front of everyone, not only did I gain the reputation of a jealous shrew, but I also made Xia Huai resent me. That's how my path to villainy began. But now the situation was easily reversed. Simply because I don't love Xia Huai. It's clear that irrational love doesn't just cloud your mind, it lowers your IQ. In the garden of the Xia Manor, Xia Huai stood before me with a look of guilt. Jiao Jiao, I've done you wrong in this matter. Lin Wanyue's mother saved my life. On her deathbed, she entrusted Wanyue to me. How could I fail a benefactor's dying wish? But don't worry. My heart only has room for you. The only person I, Xia Huai, will marry is you. I listened to him patiently until he finished, then glanced at the corner behind him. Just as my gaze swept past, a white skirt hem vanished behind the wall. Just like in the original story, while Xia Huai was explaining things to me, the female lead heard every single word. Truly a classic trope of brainless melodrama. And according to the female lead's no-mouth setting, she would only be secretly heartbroken and lost. I really am unwilling to be the villainous NPC in their mindless romance. So I walked past Xia Huai and stepped forward. I pulled Lin Wanyue out from behind the wall. The atmosphere immediately became awkward. I just happened to be passing by. Lin Wanyue's eyes welled up with tears. Like a startled deer, she shook her head, trying to explain to Xia Zhuan and me. Xia Zhuan was visibly flustered. He even instinctively took a step toward Lin Wanyue. I looked at Xia Zhuan with disappointment. I know you. I know you value gratitude and promises. But today is the day of your return to the capital. The entire city is watching you. Even His Majesty is paying close attention. This should have been your moment of glory. Yet you brought her back so openly. If we weren't engaged, it wouldn't matter. But as it stands, how will the citizens and officials look at you? And how will they look at me? If you want to repay her kindness, there are plenty of ways and times to do so. Was it really so urgent that it had to be now? Perhaps the disappointment in my eyes was too much. Xia Huai's face gradually turned pale. I shook my head and sighed softly. Besides, when we got engaged, your father made a promise to mine. He said the Xia family has an ancestral rule that their son shall only marry one woman in their lifetime, that you would never betray me. As I spoke, I turned my gaze toward Lin Wanyue. But knowing this, you still brought her back. Do you dare to say that you never felt anything for her? My words hit home. The two in front of me stared wide-eyed. Their pupils trembled. How could he not have felt anything? Xia Huai was ambushed by the enemy at the border. It was Lin's mother who saved him. It was Lin Wanyue who nursed him day and night. They had long since developed feelings for each other, but Xie still thought of me. While unable to stop himself from falling for Lin Wanyue, he was utterly conflicted. But above all else, when Lin's mother was on her deathbed, she shouldn't have used his life debt to bind him, pushing this questionable relationship deep into the mire. Gratitude became Xie excuse to indulge himself. He allowed himself to love two people at once, while turning his own selfishness and torment into resentment, and he took it all out on Lin Wanyue. Jiao, listen to me, Xie tried to explain. But I simply turned around. Before leaving, I made sure to leave him with one last thing. We shouldn't discuss this today. But regarding our marriage, we both need to reconsider. We'll talk another day. With that, I left without looking back. In the carriage back home that evening, my maid Ting was massaging my shoulders. Miss Shun, she said indignantly. After how they treated you, how could you just let them off like that? When did I say I was letting them off? To the end of the day, today, I acted for the sake of the Duke's reputation. Xie and Lin Wanyue were the ones in the wrong. The blame should naturally stay with them. Why would I draw fire upon myself? Besides, if I had made a scene like in the original story and ruined the welcome banquet then and there, I would have offended far more than just a general. Since I'm not the one at fault, all I need to do is stay dignified and keep my hands clean. Without me acting as a lightning rod, I wonder if Xie and his little white lotus can handle the consequences of their recklessness. After all, today, though I tried my best to save face for both of us, many people still sense that something was wrong. And in the capital, nothing travels faster than gossip. Then Miss Shun, what about your marriage to General Xie? Pondering my words, Tingzhu's voice trailed off. I waved it off. It's fine. Marriage requires both a cause and fate. Without fate, it's all in vain. I wanted to break the engagement with Xie Huai anyway. I have no interest in being a part of his and the heroine's play. However, our marriage involves the interests of two powerful families. It's not that easy to call off. Now that the heroine has appeared, I should certainly make good use of her. As for Xie, if I don't follow the original plot and throw myself at him regardless of the cost, acting as a sacrifice for his love with Lin Wanyue, how will he win his beauty now? As I expected, the day after the banquet, the news about Xie and Lin Wanyue spread through every street and alley in the capital. The Xie family's reputation had always been praised, so this was a massive embarrassment for them. Some people even sent petitions to the emperor overnight to impeach Xie for his improper conduct. But what worried them more was our engagement. Lord Xie brought Xie to our house in person to apologize to me and my parents. My father and Lord Xie are old friends, so it was hard to turn him away. But my father cared more about me. He accepted the apology, but put the marriage on hold. Xie looked at me with a gentle expression and said many soft words of apology. I only gave him lukewarm responses in his effort to win me back. Xie temporarily set aside the matter of Lin Wanyue. He even arranged for her to stay outside the general's manor and focus all his attention on me. He sent gifts to my house every day and came by for several days to invite me out. I declined every invitation. He assumed I was still throwing a tantrum and said helplessly that he'd wait until I wasn't angry, but I knew. As long as Lin Wanyue was around, Xiejuan's heart would only drift further from mine. And the entanglement between us wouldn't end so easily. Just like now, barely 7 days after the banquet, I ran into Lin Wanyue again at Yijin Pavilion. I was picking out jewelry in a private room upstairs when I heard a commotion below, so I stepped out to take a look. A crowd had gathered downstairs. In the center stood several young ladies. Lin Wanyue was among them. My heart sank. I recognized the girls with Lin Wanyue. They were daughters of minor officials in the capital, and the leader Su Ruyan was one of the minor villains in the original story. With them all here together, nothing good could be happening. I was just thinking when Su Ruyan began her usual performance. A vixen who ruins other people's marriages actually has the nerve to show her face in public. Look at your low-class appearance. Is Yijin Pavilion a place for someone like you? How disgusting. Lin Wanyue was being insulted by them one after another. Her eyes were filled with tears. She couldn't say a single word in her defense. She really sticks to that mute persona. She looked so pathetic. But the more silent she remained, the more arrogant they became. Seeing Su Ruyan raise her hand, ready to slap Lin Wanyue's face, I spoke up. If she doesn't belong here, then who does? I slowly walked down the stairs. I stared at Su Ruyan expressionlessly. Does someone as ill-mannered and foul-mouthed as you belong here? Miss Shen. They were all startled to see me. Then they quickly forced a fawning smile. Miss Shen, this vixen seduced General Xia. We couldn't stand to watch, so we wanted to teach her a lesson for you. Humph. You're quite bold, Miss Su. Doing my work for me now? One of these days, will you be taking my place as the Duke's daughter too? I had crossed paths with Su Ruyan a few times before. She knew I disliked other women getting close to Xiejuan. But she didn't expect that her actions, instead of pleasing me, would actually enrage me. She panicked immediately. No, Miss Shen. I was wrong. I wouldn't dare. Next time, if I catch you bullying people like this again, then your families can expect a report from the censorate. My words scared them into apologizing repeatedly. They didn't even take the jewelry they picked out, and fled as fast as they could. I turned around. Lin Wanyue was staring at me blankly. She even forgot to let the tears in her eyes fall. Miss Shen, thank you. A moment later she snapped out of it. Her voice was stuttering. No need. I shook my head and prepared to leave. Miss Shen, why did you help me? There is no why. They were just disturbing my peace. Miss Shen, do you not resent me? Why should I resent you? Because of Xiejuan? Is there any point in resenting you? Besides, when it comes to love, it has always been about mutual attraction. Some mistakes aren't made by just one person. The most baffling thing about tragic supporting characters is that they blame the loss of the male lead entirely on the female lead. Admittedly, the female lead isn't entirely innocent, but while he maintains a devoted persona, he's already falling for someone else. The one who forces the supporting girl to turn villainous is the male lead. The arrows of resentment should be aimed at the source. To turn into a bitter woman over a man like that, that's asking a bit much of me. She probably didn't expect me to say such things. Lin Wanyue was shocked. She was stunned for a long time, before slowly saying, "You're different from what I imagined." Am I? I curled my lips into a smile. Then I hope I haven't disappointed you, Miss Lin. The peaceful days were broken after just a few more. Xiejuan's man delivered an invitation to me, inviting me for a talk. He even said if I didn't go, he wouldn't leave. He was determined to wait until I showed up. To be honest, I didn't care how long he waited. If he really wants to wait, he might as well wait until he's a pile of bones. But some things need to be settled once and for all. When he tried to take my hand, I avoided him subtly. Xiejuan's usual gentle expression flickered with unease. Jiao Jiao, I was wrong. I promise you my only beloved will be you. I gazed into his eyes, but gave no response. Men really seem to have many portions of love. He wants to reach for the moon in the sky, and also keep the cinnabar mark on his heart. But once he has them both, the moon and the cinnabar become like old shoes. Only that which is unattainable will haunt him for a lifetime. Jiao Jiao, stop being angry with me. Juan, I've thought about it. Let's call off the engagement. Juan froze, his eyes filled with disbelief. What did you say? I said, I've decided. We are canceling the engagement. I'll step aside for you and Lin Wanyue. Tomorrow, I'll have my father send someone to deliver the annulment papers to the general's manor. Juan's brow furrowed instantly. This was a scenario he had never imagined. I won't agree to it. After a moment of silence, his face finally darkened. If you don't want to see Lin Wanyue, I'll just settle her outside the manor in the future. You will be the only woman in the general's manor. I will also treat you twice as well. In short, regarding the annulment, I will not give my consent, even in this situation. He still wants to have his cake and eat it too. I shook my head. Naturally, I wouldn't let him off so easily. But why should I wrong myself? By marrying someone unfaithful? I told you. What I feel for Lin Wanyue is just gratitude. He looks solemn, his tone sincere. I looked up directly into the depths of his eyes. Juan is extremely handsome, stunningly so. A man like him could easily cloud any woman's judgment. If I didn't know the plot so well, and know his heart, I might have been swayed by his sincere act. My gaze held a sharp skepticism. But do you even believe that? I've seen what you look like when you're in love. I understand your love better than you do. He wanted to keep up the facade of peace, so I had to ruthlessly tear it down. A brilliant son should never fall into the mud for anyone. Since he was the greedy one, why should I be the one wallowing in self-pity? Not only will I not, but I will look down on him from the moral high ground. Juan, you were the one who broke our vow first. He was clearly flustered at having his secret exposed. His face froze like wood. In the end, Juan gave me a deep look. Between us, must it really come to this? I didn't answer. I just looked away, refusing to look at him anymore. After a while, he staggered away. The moment he turned around, in the dark sky, a brilliant firework suddenly bloomed. A firework display lit up the entire night. The spark stretched Juan's shadow long, making him look exceptionally pathetic. And these fireworks were originally prepared to confess his feelings to me. Lord Shen asked me if I had truly decided to annul the engagement. Is this not just a heat-of-the-moment decision? After all, you used to be so fond of him. I nodded. Yes. I've decided. After a moment of silence, he let out a long sigh. If it's off, it's off. As long as our Jiao Jiao doesn't regret it later. I was reluctant to marry you off in the first place. But you've liked that Xie boy since you were little. And the Xie family has a tradition of lifelong devotion. So I thought he was worth entrusting you to. But looking at it now, that Xie boy is unreliable after all. Humph. I playfully tugged at Lord Shan's sleeve. Fortunately, we hadn't officially started wedding preparations. It's not too late to call it off now. One couple for a lifetime. What a beautiful vow. Too bad this vow was designed from the start to serve the melodramatic romance of the leads. Of course, it wouldn't benefit a supporting character like me. However, thinking back to tonight, and that white figure hiding in the shadows, I lowered my gaze. Stories revolving around the main leads always involve accidental encounters, no matter where you go. And having once again heard Juan deny his feelings for her, I wonder what Lin Wanyue is thinking. Is a man like that really worth it for her? Is he truly worth it? Sai, never mind. You are the legitimate eldest miss of the Duke's manor. What kind of man couldn't you marry? Why suffer for the sake of Juan? Lord Shan gently patted the top of my head, pulling me back from my thoughts. Seeing his face full of concern and affection, I smiled. I stood up and massaged his shoulders. Father, I want to discuss something with you. Lord Shan narrowed his eyes contentedly, being so helpful all of a sudden. Go on, what is it? I said in a low voice, "It's about the princes." His eyes snapped open, looking very surprised. He quickly lowered his voice too. "Did someone say something to you?" I shook my head. "No, I noticed it myself. According to the original plot, Emperor Chu is currently in poor health, and there are undercurrents in the imperial court. Right now, several princes are trying to win over the Duke's manor. Among them, Lord Shen favors the second prince, Chu Jingyao. Although the second prince's mother was just a maid, with no power at all. The second prince himself is deep and calculating. He has made quite a name for himself in politics, and many people think highly of him. But in the struggle for the throne, success brings glory to the whole clan, but failure brings destruction to 9 generations. Not a single move can be made in error. Jiao Jiao, do you realize that court politics are treacherous and unpredictable? It's extremely dangerous. One wrong step and it's over. This isn't something a woman should easily meddle in. I know. But since you are currently undecided, why not let me help share your burden?" Lord Shen looked at me. After a moment of deep thought, he finally nodded. "You've certainly become more sensible than before, but once you take this step, there's no turning back. Have you thought this through?" I said with a smile, "I have. I should do my part for the future of our house." Actually, over the years, the Duke's Manor's education of the original host included not just literature and etiquette, but also political affairs. After all, she was the legitimate daughter of the Duke, and her fiancé was a high-ranking official. With her status, she couldn't afford to be a sheltered, ignorant flower. After years of such upbringing, she had her own unique insights. It's just that in the original story, she was forced to have a stupidity buff. Her head was filled with nothing but fighting for the lead's affection and competing with the female lead. That's why she muddled through, stepping toward a tragic end. Now, between chasing a man and competing with women, I choose to build a career. Chasing a man leads to ruin, but building a career leads to a bright future. With Lord Shen's approval, I immediately set to work, understanding the court's situation and connections. When Madame Shen found out, she was surprised. When my mother, Lady Shen, found out, she was extremely worried for a time. She always thought I was heartbroken, traumatized by the breakup, and just looking for things to do to keep my mind off the sadness. She tried to sound me out a few times, but seeing that I was emotionally stable, eating well and sleeping well, she stopped worrying. She just told me not to overwork myself. Court politics are obscure and complex. They aren't something you can figure out overnight. I nodded in agreement, but my workload only increased, as I knew very well that the Emperor's body wouldn't hold out much longer. Time was running out for me. In the original story, faced with the prince's attempts to recruit him, Lord Shen chose the second prince. He never expected the second prince to be so ungrateful. Fearing the power of the Duke of Shen's estate, only 3 years after taking the throne, he stripped the Duke's estate of its power bit by bit, until finally, Lord Shen completely lost his influence at court. The original protagonist wanted to use her past with Xiaojuan to ask him to help the Duke's estate. But what she received instead was an imperial decree accusing the Duke's estate of treason and ordering the execution of the entire family. And the person who delivered that decree was the very man she saw as her last hope, Xiaojuan. So what I need to do now is to persuade Lord Shen to choose a different master. Faced with the detailed map of court relations I'd prepared, he was quite interested. Currently, half of the civil and military officials are the second prince's men. If we support the second prince, it would be a safe bet. I shook my head and tapped the desk. The second prince has many followers, but most of them hold low ranks. They have little say in court. True, if he gained Lord Shen's help, the second prince's chances would be much higher. But a tall tree attracts the wind. Excessive power is honey to those who ignore it, but poison to those who hold it. Furthermore, while the second prince has the ambition of an emperor, he has no powerful clan to rely on. If we help him, we will be the biggest tree standing behind him. He frowned and pondered for a moment. What if we voluntarily give up half our power in exchange for peace? True, we could take that gamble. But what if we lose? To use the 300 lives of the Duke's estate, to gamble on the whims of an emperor, is truly not a wise move. In my view, half the power isn't enough to satisfy the second prince. He wants it all. He wants to bleed the Duke's estate completely dry. Otherwise, if he had even a shred of mercy, the Duke's estate wouldn't have met such an end. Lord Shun stared blankly at the scrolls on the desk. After a long silence, he slowly looked at me. A smile appeared on his face. Good. My Jiao is a woman of great strategy. His voice was full of pride. I curled my lips into a smile. Shen Lingjiao actually had so much. As the only daughter of the Shen family, everyone in the family doted on her and loved her. They never forced her to do anything she didn't want to do, and even supported all her decisions unconditionally. If it weren't for Xie Zhuan, she would surely be the most carefree girl in the capital. The path I'm on now is the one that's truly on the right track. A moment later, he stroked his chin again. If we don't choose the second prince, does Jiao have someone else in mind? Sigh. The current emperor has 5 sons. Aside from the somewhat capable second prince, and the 5th prince who died young, there's only the mediocre first prince, the 3rd prince, and Chu Jinghe, who has been bedridden for a long time. I nodded. Of course, not only do I have someone, but he is more suited for that throne than anyone else. After hearing my words, the Duke's estate ultimately did not ally with the second prince, but remained neutral for the time being. Without the help of the Duke's estate, the second prince took the next best option and turned his gaze toward the general's estate. Lord Shen even specifically asked for my opinion on this. But regarding this development, I wasn't surprised. After all, according to the original plot, the general's estate also chose to support the second prince in the end. They were the second prince's second largest supporters, except in the original text. The Duke's estate took the brunt of the pressure, and with Xie Zhuan's male lead halo, the second prince saw Xie Zhuan as a confidant and treated the general's estate with great kindness. Now that the Duke's estate isn't there to take the fall for the Xie family, I want to see just how much Xie Zhuan's protagonist halo can actually protect him. Changing the original plot doesn't mean the Duke's estate is completely safe. To truly escape the original fate of the Duke's estate, I asked Lord Shen for some manpower and started arranging for them to gather intelligence for me. During this time, quite a few things happened. First, Lord Shen was repeatedly targeted in court. It wasn't hard to guess who was behind it. After all, the second prince has never been one to tolerate defiance. The Duke's estate had refused his alliance. In his eyes, that was the same as choosing to be his enemy. Lord Shen and I had expected this, so we could handle it easily. The other matter concerned Xie Zhuan and Lin Yu. Without me, the wicked female supporting character, in the way, the relationship between the leads wasn't going smoothly either. According to the servants at the general's estate, since Xie Zhuan and I broke off the engagement, Xie Zhuan has treated Lin Yu even worse than before. He seems to blame my departure entirely on Lin Yu. Even the rest of the Xie family doesn't give her a single kind look. I've run into Lin Yu a few times on the street. She's getting thinner and thinner, and her fragile state gets worse every time. Once during a torrential downpour, I even saw Xie Zhuan kick her out of the carriage in the middle of the street, leaving her to get soaked to the bone. Every time, Lin Yu just holds back her tears. Just like every tragic romance female lead, she silently endures all the grievances. It's so frustrating that even I, the villainess, find it hard to watch. I'm deeply confused by the original author's logic. Self-sacrificing endurance doesn't earn you respect or love. If you don't even care about your own feelings, how can you convince others to cherish you? Furthermore, pinning all your hopes on a man. What century is this stupid trope from? It's really hard to even comment on it. My next encounter with Xie Zhuan and Lin Yu was a month later. It was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the palace was holding an autumn hunt. Lord Shen brought me along. But I didn't expect Xie Zhuan to bring Lin Yu. Given their current relationship, and an occasion like this, it didn't make sense for Xie Zhuan to bring her. But then again, this novel itself makes no sense. So the leads appearing together suddenly seemed logical. The villainess and the leads appearing together, especially at a classic scene like an autumn hunt, usually means something is about to happen. I sighed, deciding to stay far away from those two unlucky souls. However, as I was walking with my head down, a figure suddenly appeared in front of me. Then a deep voice sounded above my head. Jiao Jiao. I looked up. It was Xie Zhuan. I was avoiding him, yet he actively sought me out, steadying my nerves. I said expressionlessly, "General Xia, is there something? You've been avoiding me lately." Xia Zhuan looked heartbroken. "General Xia, our engagement is off. It's only proper to keep our distance." Since the breakup, I hadn't seen Xia Zhuan at all. The few times we crossed paths on the street, I had avoided him. "Fine." Xia Zhuan sighed helplessly. Seeing no one else around, he lowered his voice. "Today, I have something to discuss with you. The general's estate has already allied with the second prince. The second prince has the best chance of inheriting the throne. Xia Zhuan knows the duke's estate is now at odds with the second prince, and knows Lord Shen is being suppressed in court. But he still has feelings for me, so he wants to persuade me not to misread the situation, persuade me to reconcile with him. That way, the Shen and Xia families would be joined by marriage, and it would be natural to join the second prince." He spoke with such sincerity, while I could barely stop myself from yawning. I looked at him seriously. "General Xia, what on earth makes you think I would ever get back together with you?" Xia Zhuan looked earnest. "In this game of chess, one wrong move, and the whole game is lost. I don't want to see you get caught in the crossfire. Jiao Jiao, come back to me. I will surely keep you safe." I smiled. "Keep me safe? General Xia, your idea of protection is for me to marry you? To be a delicate flower clinging to you? To spend my life praying for your protection?" Xia Huai frowned. "Jiao Jiao, the struggle for the throne is no place for acting on impulse. The duke's estate has already offended the second prince. If you want to resolve this, this is the best way. A move made cannot be undone." I spoke calmly. "A game of chess that isn't over is a game whose outcome no one can predict. Even if the move the duke's estate made was truly a mistake, we will bear the consequences ourselves. General Xia, you needn't trouble yourself." With that, I brushed past Xia Huai. As I was about to leave, I ran straight into Lin Wanyue, who was looking for him. I paused for a moment, then I spoke again. "Besides, General, if I were truly in your heart, you would trust me and help me. You would walk by my side, instead of keeping me caged under your wing, making me too weak to survive on my own. That isn't love. It's just your own base, selfish desire." I didn't wait for Xia Huai to react. Ignoring Lin Wanyue's startled gaze, I walked away with ease. Whether it was the original host of this body or Lin Wanyue, their greatest tragedy was being treated as mere accessories to highlight the hero's charm. Under the guise of love, the hero clips their wings, traps them in the inner manor, and makes them spend their lives dependent on him, surviving only on his pity, and they are expected to be grateful for it. But this is only to satisfy the hero's shallow and base possessiveness. How can that be called love? The autumn hunt was a lively affair. My father, the Duke, also encouraged me to go have some fun. I'm not the original owner of this body. I don't know the first thing about hunting. I only just learned how to ride a horse recently. But to stay in character, I took my bow and arrows and set off on my horse. I entered the woods, planning to just take a quick lap and head back. However, before I could return, something went wrong. As I reached a valley, the sound of something massive rolling came from the slope. I looked up and saw huge boulders tumbling down toward me. There must have been at least a dozen of them. Fortunately, my reflexes were quick enough. I scrambled off my horse and ducked into a nearby cave. But while I was dodging, I was hit by some flying debris. I sustained some minor injuries. Worse yet, the cave entrance was blocked. There was only a small opening high up, just wide enough for one person to pass through. Unfortunately, the stone walls were smooth, and I had sprained my ankle. I wasn't getting out on my own for now. I could only wait to see if anyone noticed I was missing and came looking for me. But I never expected that the first person to find me would be Lin Wanyue. As the sky outside grew dark, and still no one had come for me, I let out a long sigh. I was just planning to grit my teeth and try to climb out, when I heard a voice through the boulders. Someone was calling my name urgently. "Miss Shun, are you in there?" I froze. Lin Wanyue and I had barely spoken a few words to each other, but this voice, as clear as a spring, was definitely hers. "Lin Wanyue? It's me," she sounded overjoyed. "I finally found you. Miss Shun, are you alright?" I gave a wry smile. "I'm okay, but But I've sprained my ankle. I can't climb out. Could I trouble you to find my father? Ask him to come and get me out. Lin Wanyue sounded anxious. You sprained your ankle? Is it serious? I was about to say it wasn't, when the light in the cave suddenly vanished. Something was blocking the opening above. I instinctively looked up at the gap and looked straight into a pair of worried eyes. I watched as Lin Wanyue leaped down through the opening. I was so stunned I forgot to speak. The opening wasn't actually that high, but my ankle was so swollen. I was afraid moving would make it worse. Plus, I trusted that my doting father would soon realize I was gone. That's why I hadn't tried to climb out yet. But still, seeing such a bold move from Lin Wanyue felt incredibly surreal to me. Seeing me staring at her in shock, Lin Wanyue looked a bit awkward. My mother was a physician. I've been climbing mountains to gather herbs since I was a child, so I'm fairly agile. I fell silent for a moment. It was true. Lin Wanyue's mother was a physician. A very skilled one at that. That's how she was able to save Xia Huai, snatching him back from the brink of death. I've practiced medicine with my mother for years. I've learned a lot over time. Miss Shun, if you don't mind, may I take a look at your injury? Lin Wanyue asked tentatively. I rolled up my trouser leg and held my injured leg out to her. The heroine of this novel wasn't useless. She had a great talent and skill for medicine. While she was taking care of Xia Huai in the camp, she saved many soldiers. If this were the modern world, she'd have a room full of honorary plaques. So I didn't doubt her skills at all. It's just a pity that according to the plot, once she's with Xia Huai, her medical skills are used only for him. Lin Wanyue looked at my injury. She frowned. It's a good thing you didn't move around. Otherwise, it would have taken months to heal. How did you find me? As Lin Wanyue examined my bone, I tilted my head and watched her. She answered me without stopping what she was doing. I heard the Duke organizing a search party in the camp. I asked around and found out you were missing. So you came looking for me on purpose?
He stared at her intensely.
My eyes were filled with curiosity. Yes, Lin Wanyue nodded. I was completely baffled. I didn't think we were close at all. Not only were we not close, we were practically love rivals. I really couldn't figure out why she would help my father find me, or why she cared so much about me, as if she knew what I was thinking. Lin Wanyue said, "You helped me, so I couldn't just stand by and do nothing." She pulled a blue silk tassel from her robe and held it out to me. Attached to the tassel was a small wooden tag with the character Shun engraved on it. Looking at the tassel, I remembered. It was a day of heavy rain, when Xia Huai had abandoned Lin Wanyue by the road. I had my maid Tingzhu give her an umbrella. That tassel was the mark the Duke's estate put on their umbrellas. I waved it off. Oh, it was just an umbrella. It wasn't just an umbrella. Lin Wanyue shook her head. Her eyes, shimmering with light, were fixed on me. And that day at Asian Pavilion, you were the one who stood up for me. Miss Shun, you are a truly good person. I couldn't help but laugh at that. The pure heroine calling the villainess a good person. In the world of web novels, that's a pretty mind-blowing plot twist. Miss Shun, Lin Wanyue called again. Her expression was serious. She went silent for a moment. It was as if she were bracing herself. After a long while she finally spoke. I have feelings for General Xia. I raised an eyebrow. Back at the border, our village was raided by enemy troops. It was General Xia who saved me from being dishonored. I've cared for him ever since. So when I heard he was under attack, I went to save him. But at first I didn't know he already loved someone. And I didn't expect that my mother would use his debt to entrust me to him. I didn't want to come back with him. But he said he promised my mother he'd look after me. I know I'm being selfish, knowing he has you in his heart. I still hoped he might look at me. Just once. But the moment I met you, I knew I was wrong. She bites her lip, stubborn yet restrained. Miss Shun, you are bright and dazzling, a truly wonderful girl. You deserve to be cherished in the palm of someone's hand. I know I shouldn't keep clinging to Xia Zhuan, but I have my own difficulties. Please just wait. I will definitely leave him. Why are you telling me that you're leaving him? As for me, I don't recycle trash. Lin Wanyue was stunned for a moment, then she gave a bitter smile. You're right, Miss Shen. You deserve the best. After saying that, she lowered her head again, carefully tending to the injury on my ankle. I stared at her for a long while. Miss Lin, I'll give those words back to you. What? Her wide eyes were filled with confusion. You're not quite like I imagined. Is that so? She suddenly smiled. The confusion in her eyes turned into starlight, filling those crescent moon eyes. Then I hope I haven't disappointed you, Miss Shen. The moonlight spilled down. The slender girl in white smiled with curved eyes. Her hair was a bit messy from the frantic search, clinging to her pale cheeks. It was quite endearing. I took a soft breath. Suddenly, I understood Xiaojuan a little. I pursed my lips and said seriously, Lin Wanyue, let's make a deal. In the end, it was Lin Wanyue who led Lord Shen to rescue me. The imperial physician who came to treat me said my wound had been handled well, and there wouldn't be any major issues. I just needed to rest for a while. After seeing off the physician, Lord Shen looked at me with a solemn expression. This was no accident. I nodded. I realized the autumn hunt was held in the royal enclosure. Logically, aside from some fierce prey, there shouldn't have been any other dangers. Besides, the weather has been fine lately. Though it rained occasionally, it was only a light drizzle. It's unlikely the soil would have loosened enough to cause boulders to roll down. So, the most likely explanation is that someone did it on purpose. The second prince, Lord Shan's face was dark enough to drip ink. He didn't even try to hide it. He sent someone early this morning to warn me. Though he didn't say it directly, it was definitely his doing. He wants to use your life to blackmail me, warning me not to oppose him. I rubbed my temples. I knew the second prince wasn't generous, but I didn't expect him to be this petty. I suppose when I rejected Xia Huai's mediation that day, I completely burned that bridge with him. However, I curled my lips into a smile. Courtesy demands a return in kind. Since the second prince prepared such a gift for us, we must return the favor. I'd like to see if his meticulous schemes are more powerful, or if my knowledge of the script is superior. In just half a month, a palace secret suddenly began to spread among the people. Rumor had it that the emperor's fifth son, who died young, was actually the first loser in this struggle for the throne. The cause of the fifth prince's death wasn't the congenital deficiency stated by the palace, but rather that he was poisoned while still in the womb. Once the rumor broke, all eyes were on the second prince's estate. It was simple. Of the emperor's 5 sons, the first and third princes were utterly mediocre. They had left for their fiefs before the fifth prince was even born, and had been behaving themselves for years. As for Chu Jinghe, he'd been bedridden since he was 7, with physicians claiming he wouldn't live past 20. So, from the moment the fifth prince's mother became pregnant, the emperor placed great importance on the child. But things didn't go as planned. The fifth prince died just 3 days after birth. Since then, no new children have been born in the harem. Infant mortality is common enough, and the fifth prince's condition was poor at birth anyway. So at the time, everyone thought it was just natural frailty. But now, the news in the capital is so detailed. And the more it's told, the harder it is not to be suspicious. If the fifth prince really was poisoned, the biggest beneficiary would certainly be the healthy and talented second prince. As the rumors intensified, officials submitted petitions asking the emperor to reinvestigate the death. Although the second prince repeatedly swore to the emperor to prove his innocence, the emperor still issued a decree for the Minister of Justice to personally oversee the case. Suddenly, everyone in the palace was on edge, fearing they'd be the ones framed for it. The second prince was overwhelmed, struggling to deal with the flood of impeachments and questions. In the midst of all this chaos, another piece of news that no one noticed quietly began to spread. The woman General Xia brought back from the border had vanished without a word. The general was searching the city like a madman. Listening to the constant stream of reports from my subordinates, I continued to leisurely feed the fish and enjoy the flowers. Fish food was sprinkled onto the lake, and countless fish splashed about, fighting for food. There wasn't a moment of peace. Let them make a scene. The more chaotic it gets, the more exciting the story becomes. It's been over a month since the Emperor ordered the investigation into the fifth prince's case. The atmosphere in the capital shifted from lively gossip to a tense, heavy silence. At first, they only investigated the maids of the prince's mother, but the investigation spiraled out of control. It even revealed that Chu Jinghe's long-term illness was also the result of someone's secret tampering. By the end, over 50 people had been imprisoned one after another, from the head of the Imperial Academy of Medicine down to the palace cleaning maids. It involved a vast number of people, and when the dust settled, all evidence pointed directly to the second prince. At first, the second prince still tried to defend himself. But then the world's greatest physician, Old Man Lin, emerged. He not only examined the fifth prince's remains, but also checked Chu Jinghe's pulse. He confirmed that both princes had indeed been poisoned, and with the exact same toxin. However, the fifth prince was poisoned in the womb, so he died within 3 days. Chu Jinghe was a young child when he was poisoned, and wasn't as fragile as an infant, which is how he managed to survive. This poison is colorless and odorless, taking lives subtly and slowly. It's no ordinary poison, but a rare substance in this world. The Ministry of Justice found that years ago, the second prince had arranged to buy this very poison. Upon seeing the evidence presented by the ministry, the emperor was consumed by rage. He coughed up blood and fainted on the spot. Fortunately, Old Man Lin was there to save him, but during that treatment, it was discovered that the emperor had also been poisoned. He is now at death's door. The second prince was immediately put under house arrest. In just half a day, the world in the capital had completely changed. Lin Wanyue and I were sipping tea at Chu Jinghe's estate. He looked at the gloomy sky and sighed. By the looks of it, there's a heavy rain coming. I remained non-committal. A heavy rain would be good. The capital is full of filth. It needs a good washing. Since it's about to rain, you two should stay for dinner. Wait until the rain stops before you leave. A clear, warm voice came from behind us, followed by a gentle and handsome man, sitting in a wheelchair. Though he was in a wheelchair, his complexion was excellent, with no trace of illness left. Then we'll have to trouble you, Chu Jinghe. Lin Wanyue and I looked at each other and nodded with a smile. How could it be a trouble? Chu Jinghe's lips curled into a slight smile, his eyes full of gratitude. If you hadn't found Old Man Lin for me, I'm afraid I'd still be lingering on in this sickly body. Hearing this, Lin Wanyue waved her hands and said, this was all Jiao Jiao's doing. She told me where he was and told me to find him, but it had to be you. An ordinary person couldn't have pulled it off. I spoke up slowly. Chu Jinghe smiled and shook his head. He looked somewhat helpless. There's no need for you two to be so modest. After all, you both saved my life. If you ever need anything in the future, just ask. For now, just focus on recovering your health. Once the rain stops, I'll have plenty of things to trouble you with. I raised an eyebrow when Lord Shen asked me who I thought was blessed. The person I chose was Chu Jinghe. In the original story, there wasn't much written about him. It only said he had a pure heart, was naturally gifted and intelligent, and cared for the world even at a young age. He was once Emperor Chu's most beloved prince, and the most promising heir to the throne. Unfortunately, he had been sickly since childhood, destined for a short life with little fortune. Less than 7 days after Emperor Chu passed away, he also perished. His entire life was summed up in just a few scant lines. But as a woman who holds the script, I know very well that he wasn't actually sick, but poisoned. He and the fifth prince were both stepping stones for the second prince to take the throne. So from the day I decided to change the fate of the Duke of Shan's household, I sent people to secretly observe Chu Jinghe. He didn't disappoint me. Despite being plagued by illness, he continued his studies and training without pause. He didn't resent heaven or earth, nor did he resent his fate. He simply did his best to support the state, constantly offering advice and strategies to Emperor Chu. If not for his health, he would have been a far better emperor than the second prince. So I chose to give him a helping hand. the original story mentioned that his poison could actually be cured. But only one person in the world could do it: Old Man Lin. Unluckily, Old Man Lin's whereabouts were unpredictable, and he had an eccentric personality. He wouldn't see anyone unless it was fated, or unless they could cater to his specific interests. But I knew where he was, and I knew how to win him over. More importantly, I knew the so-called fated person was Lin Wanyue. Lin Wanyue's mother was Old Man Lin's white moonlight in his youth. In the book, upon seeing Lin Wanyue, who looked 70% like her mother, he immediately granted her 3 requests. This was the deal between me and Lin Wanyue. He would find Old Man Lin for me to save Chu Jinghe, and I would finish his unfinished business for him, allowing him to leave Xiejuan cleanly. Although this wasn't my original plan, his involvement made everything go much smoother. So I gave him a stroke of luck in advance, along with a promise from Chu Jinghe, all as a reward for saving my life. The heavy rain lasted for 3 days, and the capital remained silent for 3 days, until dawn on the 4th day. The funeral bells rang out from the palace. The emperor had passed away. Before he died, Emperor Chu left a final decree naming the recovered Chu Jinghe as the new emperor. The second prince was demoted to a commoner and placed under house arrest for life in his manor, never to step outside again. The capital settled down, and everything returned to how it was before. It was as if nothing had happened during this time, save for the news of the second prince's cronies' homes being raided, which signaled that a struggle for the throne had indeed occurred. As the second prince's biggest backer, the general's manor couldn't escape being raided either. However, I heard that the night before the raid, Old Master Xie fled overnight with the entire family. Even Xiejuan had disappeared. When I heard this news, I was in the courtyard pruning flower branches. Chu Jinghe sat composed in the pavilion behind me. He watched me for a long while, before speaking playfully. General Xie's whereabouts are unknown. Yet Miss Shun is still so calm, tending to her flowers. You truly don't care for old times at all. Snip. I cleanly cut off a branch. Falling along with the branch was a brilliantly blooming flower. The blossom hit the ground, scattering petals everywhere. The delicate flower turned to mud in just an instant. Your Majesty, do you think this flower can grow back? Chu Jinghe opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted by a cheerful voice. Jiao Jiao, I just brewed this tonic for you. It's very nourishing for you. Drink it while it's hot. Lin Wanyue walked toward me carrying a bowl of medicine, his eyes curved with a smile. I took the bowl, checked the temperature, and then drank it all in one go. During this time, Lin Wanyue had been devoted to nursing me back to health every day. My body was indeed becoming healthier. In return, I cut the most vibrant flower and tucked it into his hair. A delicate flower for beauty. It suits you. Chu Jinghe suddenly spoke up. I wonder what General Xie would think if he saw this scene. That depends on if he's lucky enough to survive. I smiled. Of course, the story wouldn't end that easily. Sometime later, rebels suddenly attacked the city. The leader was the second prince, who should have been under house arrest, and his lieutenant was Xiejuan, who had recently vanished. Xiejuan was unwilling to accept defeat and finally chose to make a desperate last stand. Just as the city was in a state of panic, and everyone feared for their lives, Chu Jinghe acted as if he had been prepared all along. He suppressed the rebellion with lightning speed, killing the second prince on his horse with a single arrow. With the leader dead, his followers were all taken into custody to be beheaded on a chosen day. I went to the prison to see Xiejuan. The once high-spirited young general was no longer arrogant. He looked at me with dark, heavy eyes. Jiao Jiao, was all of this you're doing? He asked me, but I didn't answer. He asked again. When exactly did you start planning all this? I still didn't answer. His eyes gradually turned red. Jiao Jiao, do you really have no feelings for me at all? At this point, isn't it a bit late for General Xie to be asking that? Xiejuan wanted to say something more, but in the end he couldn't get the words out, because he saw Lin Wanyue. The Lin Wanyue who used to have eyes only for him now didn't even spare him a glance. He just silently walked up behind me and draped a cloak over my shoulders. He said, Jiao Jiao, the prison is damp and cold. Don't catch a chill. Given the situation, What was there left for him not to understand? Now I loathed him. And Lin Wanyue had abandoned him. On the day of the execution, Lin Wanyue and I went to watch together. Seeing us, Xiejuan smiled. Yet a single tear fell. As the executioner's blade fell, I heard him say, "Jiao Jiao. If only I hadn't been so greedy back then." I sighed helplessly. It wasn't because of him, but because Lin Wanyue was frightened by the bloody scene and turned to bury himself in my arms. I didn't understand. If he was afraid, why did he insist on coming? In the second year of Chu Jinghe's reign, he used ruthless means to deal with many corrupt officials. The first to be hit was the former Right Chancellor Wang Qian, and he was Lin Wanyue's biological father. As a proper angst story protagonist, Lin Wanyue's background was naturally tragic. Mother Lin was deceived and abandoned, giving birth to him alone and raising him by herself, only to die in the chaos of war. He followed Xiejuan all the way to the capital to find his heartless father. It turned out the man was a powerful chancellor. Not only did he refuse to recognize him, he even wanted to eliminate him. Out of necessity, he endured the humiliation, viewing Xiejuan as his saving grace, hoping to use him to bring down his own father and avenge Mother Lin. On the day Wang Qian died, Lin Wanyue did something out of character and pulled me along to drink with him for half the night. He laughed and cried, and finally had a good night's sleep, free from suffering. Another spring has arrived. Under Elder Lin's care, Chu Jinghe no longer needs a wheelchair. His health has gradually improved, and he's now almost like any other person. He governs with diligence, driven by great ambition, determined to forge an era of peace and prosperity. Having served the new emperor, I was appointed Right Prime Minister, becoming the first female official since the founding of the dynasty to rule the realm by his side. Meanwhile, Lin Wanyue was titled princess and became a disciple of Elder Lin. She wishes to travel the world with him, healing those in need. On the day she left the capital, I woke up early to see her off at the city gates. The young woman sat atop her horse, dressed in a flowing white gown. Her inked black hair was loosely tied up, and a radiant smile blossomed across her stunning face. Without realizing it, the once fragile little flower had long since become a bright moon in the sky. "Jiao Jiao, take care." As the sound of hooves faded into the distance, the farewell was lost to the wind. I pulled my coat tighter. Now that the world is at peace, and you are free from worries and resentment, we will surely meet again.